diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
Hey, we're here.
How are we, people? We've got no show today. I don't know what's happened to Rob, but he's not here. So
We've been stood up.
yeah. So
Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
100%. So we just thought we'd come on and interrupt your party because they've all been dancing about listening to the placeholder for the last 15 minutes. Now, I have got, well, I've said this before, I've got 28 different, about 28, I think, different placeholders. So there'll always be some sort of, they're not all wavy tunes, but only a couple of them are not, but most of them are. But, yeah, once a raver, always a raver. I spent all of the 90s doing that, really.
What's a raver?
When you go to raves, like a party animal, you know, like house, trance music, drum and bass, jungle, you know, in big airport hangars and stuff, 10,000 people all just partying on laser shows.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah.
We don't have that expression. That's
raving all night long. Anyway, so, yeah, I used to DJ quite a lot and stuff as well. But I'll just say, if anyone's got any questions for me and Elisa, you want to ask, we might as well just have a little. We haven't really got anything to discuss because we thought Rob was coming on, but we wouldn't let you down and just not come on, obviously.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a good topic, so don't worry. We'll get him on and we'll cover that. Hopefully, you know, I hope everything's okay with him, and it's, you know, nothing serious, but we'll reschedule somehow, some way. So don't worry, it's too important.
Well, he might even turn up yet, but
yeah, he might.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So, how is everyone out there? Apart from having a party, they're always having good fun in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I was just telling Stu, I just read that it looks like Congress is getting more serious about this idea of ending daylight, you know, the hour difference with daylight savings and just keeping it daylight savings year round. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Just another way that they've tried to screw with us.
What, our Acadian rhythms?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna have a quick look at Telegram, see if I don't think there's any news coming.
Yeah. I will tell you, I was very intrigued because I was on Twitter at the gym this morning and I reposted a lot of things on health, you know, like one thing that they were talking about was just helping to heal brain injuries and things like that. Of course, that's always of interest to me because George had an aneurysm back in 2006, like literally was in a coma for 6 weeks, had to relearn how to walk, talk, do everything. So, and they were saying just with frequency, right, which most of us know, but, you know, just this idea of frequency and how it heals. And then I also read something, well, a doctor allegedly, was saying that if you soak your feet, did anybody ever hear of this one? Soaking your feet in hydrogen peroxide at night.
Yeah.
And it does all kinds of wonderful things for your body through the night. Yeah, I had not heard of that.
Have you heard the one about putting onions in your socks?
Yes. I've never done it. I'm afraid.
On your feet.
Yeah, and then there was another remedy for, you take onions and boil them. I think a lot of people have heard of this one. Then you take the juice, after it's boiled, you take the liquid from that and you add some olive oil and honey. Hope I'm not forgetting what else. And you drink it. That's like for colds and flus, and it boosts your immune system and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm so, because like by training, I'm a health and life coach. So I'm, constantly looking for the natural ways. And with two young, 19 and 21-year-old daughters who are in the I need an immediate fix mode all the time, I get them to move more and more towards the natural way and have some patience and let your body heal and stop expecting that. Well, it certainly doesn't help, right? With school and work and, God forbid, you miss a day, right? It's like you're missing brain surgery. So they have all this pressure that makes them feel like they can't just let their bodies take the normal 5 to 7 days to heal. So red onion, add garlic. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so
look. Put onions in your socks. You got cheese and onions there. I suppose the main thing going on at the moment is, does anyone know what time Trump is speaking at Davos? Because, or is that tomorrow he's speaking? Because two things I've heard about Davos in the last few hours is that the chief of the United Nations is not going because he's ill.
Yes.
Now,
so that one.
Whether he's got COVID or anything, or whether he knows Trump is going to fucking tear him a new arsehole or not and doesn't want to show up. That's very interesting. But I've also heard that Nigel Farage is going to be there with Trump. And it's very interesting because there's lots of this. Is Farage part of the plan? He did the Brexit thing. Then he went and sort of like did what Trump did in the pause. As he took himself away. You might not see me for a while.
Yeah.
We'll be back in some form at some stage when Trump went off and we all were going, what the fuck's going on? So is Farage part of that? Because we got Rupert Lowe that left the Reform Party and he's making some great comments and stuff. And he had a bit of a spat with Nigel Farage.
But wait, let's backtrack a second to the head of the, of this not showing up, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a much bigger calm than we're giving it credit for, because I think really what they're saying is they're not in charge anymore.
No, they're not.
And I think that that's the most ridiculous thing you ever heard. He can't call me sick. He's got a cold or whatever the hell the excuse was. It's just absurd. Basically saying, and we know that this probably goes back pre-capitulation, right?
Yeah, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres has cancelled his participation in this week's Davos summit in Switzerland after coming down with a bad cold. Said Tuesday. The Secretary General has unfortunately had to cancel his participation at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting at Davos. UN spokesman Rolando Gomez told reporters in Geneva, adding that Guterres has been scheduled to speak on Wednesday, but now has a bad cold and will be leaving Switzerland instead.
Aww.
He's probably got the Colombian flu if they've all been there for a week early, and what we've seen about how many prostitutes they have turn up and all that sort of stuff and all this nefarious shenanigans that goes on.
Well, I think it's so funny at this point, that some of these things are just so obvious. So it's like what David said yesterday, where the fuck are you? When are you gonna? The things are getting so ridiculous. I'm looking on Telegram too, just to see some of the latest, if there's anything about Trump.
I've gone through all my stuff. Not a
Yeah.
lot really there.
So, today is the 20th. Yesterday was the 19th. We talked about the long-awaited 19, but then some other people are saying the 26th because it adds up to 17, right? Not sure what
What'd you say? The 26 adds up to 17, did you say?
Yeah, I think it's like, so 012626. 8, 8,
Oh,
16, 1 is 7. So Chuck Looney, who was on the show, I think he was on the Thursday.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't phone Chuck the other day. He sent us a message.
I know, I didn't either. I was texting him.
Sorry,
he's
Chuck.
around. He's always good.
Yeah.
If he's watching, we love you. But he was talking about the 26th. And he said that had been a number. I know a lot of people don't like him, but a number that had been floated by Phil a long time ago. So I got to be honest, I don't really care where the information comes from. If it's something that I can take and do a little research on or get input, to me, it doesn't matter, right? They're all nuggets.
Yeah. Well, that's what we take our stuff from. You and I haven't got any government insiders, have you? I'm not saying any one of those people have, but it's like, the information 107 gives, right? He's quite a big part in this, I think. I think he's some sort of military, ex-military, whether he's a general or not, I don't know.
I think he probably was in the intelligence.
Mar-a-Lago many times, hasn't he?
Yeah, and in the intelligence, because I think to his own, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think to his own admission, he was involved in a lot of the Soviet Union takedown, events that happened. So I think his involvement is either military and or intelligence, and I think he probably has a role in all this, to educate, and probably has like most of the people in this movement, a controlled narrative, to get out there and either help us to understand what's going on or to mislead the enemy, right? One or the other or both.
Yeah. Oh, and I know you're smarter. He does. He answers a question very long-windedly a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You even have to look into that to see if he's putting the weave in, and there's alternative
100%
meanings to what he's saying, and how he integrates all these Bible stories into what he's saying. But
yes,
the information a lot of the time, does seem to be very good. And I mean, it doesn't matter who I listen to. I don't take everything they say as gospel, even if it's General Flynn and stuff, because General Flynn is there psyoping us, right? He's what you mean, the blue anon stuff? What's blue anon? All that. You've got to watch all of it.
You do. So anyway, Mike Johnson, have you read about this? I think this was posted today. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson addresses the British Parliament and announces to Great Britain, London has fallen and they no longer own America. And this was put out by, what the hell put this out? But this is noted as a marker. Do you want me to read this? It's short. Just says, this also means that the other two have fallen as well, Washington, D.C. and the Vatican, and therefore Switzerland too. Without the Vatican, there would be no Switzerland. We remember in 2018, DJT put the Crown Company into Chapter 11, and the company was delisted in the UK in the first quarter of 2021. I might be wrong on this, but not far away from real. So,
right, I've got that post as well, but it says put the Crown Company into Chapter 13. So that's two. That was Chuck's posted it. Speaker Mike Johnson addresses UK Parliament. Yeah.
So chapter 11, let me see from what I know from my business days, chapter 11 is reorganization. That's when somebody files bankruptcy, they're going to reorganize. Chapter 7 is when they go officially out of business. I don't know what chapter 13 actually is. So I'm going to look
Do you
it
want to
up.
watch it?
It's a video? Oh, wait, want me to just tell you what chapter 13 is? Most commonly refers to Chapter 13 bankruptcy, a U.S. federal law allowing individuals with regular income to reorganize debts into 3 to 5 year repayment plan to catch up on missed payments, save homes from foreclosure, and get a fresh start while creditors stop collection efforts. Does that mean they're going to be paying stuff back to everyone? But yeah, if you want to play the video.
Right. Well, there was a load of waffle going on before that. If you saw me, that's the Speaker of the House. That is the Chief Speaker of the House. That can't think of his name at the moment. But yeah, let's watch this. I might speed it up a bit.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you sincerely. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Lord Speaker, Ambassador Stevens, members of the House of Commons, members of the House of Lords, and so many esteemed guests. It is a great honor for us to be here, a tremendous pleasure to be with you all. Speaker Hoyle, thank you for those kind words, your gracious invitation to be here today, my friend. It means so much to us. It's a real detriment to follow Speaker Hoyle. I don't like to do this. At the G7 speakers meetings, I just want you to know when he gets wound up and going, it's just like Churchill, and it goes on and on and on. And I try to speak before him at all times. I don't want to follow, but really, really grateful to be here. He has become a dear friend, and all of you, we've met so many great friends. My wife Kelly and I are truly touched by how warmly we've been received here, and having met so many of you in the past couple of days, we walked away with this sense that we do have close and dear friends here across the pond, and we have this shared heritage, and we treasure that. It is a profound honor to be speaking in Parliament today, to be the first U.S. Speaker of the House ever given this honor, and I take it very seriously. As proud Americans, it is as though we have returned to the spiritual birthplace of our own nation, and the history here, the weight of it is palpable, as you know. It gives you a certain sense of just being serious. I was going to roll on with a bunch of jokes this morning, but it doesn't feel right to be in this place at this time. We have returned at a pivotal moment, obviously, in the great histories of our countries, to mark this anniversary that we have in our nation and to celebrate what we've achieved together in the past. And importantly, to face and overcome together the challenges of our present day. And I want to tell you, my friends, we will do that together. That's what I bring you that message. When I met with Prime Minister Starmer at Downing Street yesterday, I told him that I thought his national address a few hours earlier was well done. He noted, of course, that the UK and the US are close allies and that our strong, constructive partnership all these years has been built on mutual respect and focused on results. I thought that was exactly the right message and the right tone. And because of that, we've always been able to work through our differences calmly as friends. We will continue to do that. I want to assure you this morning that that is still the case. I spoke to President Trump at length yesterday, and I told him that I really felt that my mission here, that even though we planned this back in the fall, we didn't know how the events would develop over the last few days. But I told the president that I felt that my mission here today was to encourage our friends and help to calm the waters, so to speak, and I hope to do so. As the Prime Minister said yesterday, let us look to agreement, continue our dialogue, and find a resolution, just as we always have in the past. And in that process, I am confident that we can and will maintain and strengthen our special relationship between these two nations, send a message of unity and resolve to our allies around the world, and remind our adversaries and the terrorists and tyrants everywhere that our nations that are dedicated to freedom and justice and order and human dignity are stronger and more resolved now than ever before. I think it's a very important message. Of course, we do gather here at a unique and consequential moment in American history. This year, as noted, is the time we mark our 250th anniversary of our independence. Now, I know this is not a long span of time in the scale of human history. I get that. We were touring the 1,000-year-old Windsor Palace a day or so ago, and that really set it into reality for us. At the dinner we had here last night that Speaker Hoyle and Lady Catherine graciously hosted for us, it was not lost on me that there at my table were items of silverware older than my country. Puts it in perspective. But this year in particular, we remember just how far we really have come, how our nations have evolved and grown and strengthened in so many ways together. America's founders embarked on what was a radical experiment, of course, a government of, by, and for the people, ruled by laws and based on the self-evident truth that all men are created equal and free. That experiment transformed 13 disparate, distant colonies from the world's largest empire into what became the world's freest and most successful self-government in human history. For Americans, this year is not simply a celebration, it is an invitation to come together and to ask what we are doing in our own time to preserve and fortify that experiment and all of the blessings of liberty and opportunity and security that we enjoy today, and frankly, sometimes too often take for granted. We have a stewardship obligation to maintain these blessings, and all of us in the West, all of us together, are facing real challenges today that we must acknowledge and confront, and we do that best together. Across the pond, Congress and the Trump administration have been working very hard. We're trying to usher in a new golden age for our country, as we say. We're marshaling every resource we have to make America safer and stronger and more prosperous than ever before. And I'm very bullish on the prospects of doing that. We must do this because we know those hostile to the West, to our shared values, are engaging in increasingly sophisticated forms of subversion and espionage. We see China, Russia, and Iran grow more aggressive and emboldened as they intensify their efforts to exert economic, political, and military influence around the world. We see a callous disregard for basic human rights, new provocations, and even the theft of intellectual property on a scale like we have never seen before. Clearly, President Trump is taking seriously the modern and dynamic threats that China and Russia pose to our global security, especially in focus the last few days as it relates to the Arctic. And while we can have thoughtful debate among our friends about how best to counter these threats, we all certainly agree they must be countered. We ignore these threats at our peril. And I want to hasten to express our gratitude to the UK and to all of you for joining us in some of our most recent actions to deter these hostile regimes, including the recent seizure of a black market vessel seeking to circumvent oil sanctions. That was a big help to us. That kind of open dialogue and partnership is a great example of how we can work together to ensure our collective defense around the world. It is an objective and obvious truth that a strong America is good for the entire world, and a strong UK is as well. At the same time, it's also obvious that we have to take care of our own houses, so to speak, before we take care of the neighborhood. And let's be honest, among friends here, in both of our nations, there is a need today to fortify our houses against internal challenges as well. In the West, if we make an honest assessment, we must acknowledge that our long-term prosperity and security are currently being undermined by, let's call it a crisis of self-doubt. It's been developing now for years. Elite institutions today tell the young and impressionable that our story is one of oppression and hypocrisy and failure. Our brightest minds are too often taught to view our history only through the lens of its sins. And we see the work of international organizations and transnational bodies hinder the very spirit of creativity and industriousness and daring that our nations were built upon. We have faced this in America just as you have here, a truly menacing skepticism towards history and our national institutions. And it's even come to the point where even great heroes like Sir Winston Churchill are questioned for their legacy. What has taken hold is a mindset that defines itself not by what it loves and seeks to preserve, but instead by what it condemns and seeks to tear down. And this growing disaffection we see, particularly among our younger citizens, is a serious threat to the health of both our nations. If the next generation is never exposed to the deeper wisdom of the Western world, or the enduring tradition of the British Parliament, or the genius of America's model of Republican self-government, then why would they feel any obligation to defend or preserve them? Fortunately, history teaches us an important lesson. Just over half a century after American independence, our country faced a moment of reckoning. It was 1838. And for the first time in our short history, America's founding fathers, the men who had led us through the turbulent years of our young nation, were no longer there to guide us. A growing disregard for the rule of law had taken hold at that time, and the cries of mob rule threatened every part of our country. A young legislator at that time, concerned by what he saw as America's deteriorating regard for its past, charged his countrymen with an important choice. Would they uphold their duty and preserve the blessings for which their fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor? Or would they continue on the path of decline and self-destruction? The answer was simple, he said. This experiment in liberty could not survive unless the principles enshrined in the Declaration and institutionalized in our Constitution became their shared civic faith. That rising statement, he was just 28 years old at the time, would one day become president, and he would be called to confront the greatest stress test of the American experiment yet. His likeness stands just a few feet away from here, where we're gathered today, watching over Parliament Square. Abraham Lincoln, of course, wisely understood that the philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation is the philosophy of government in the next. He knew that our national renewal would not come from repudiating our past, but rather from renewing and recommitting to our best principles, to appealing to the better angels of our nature. The struggle of Lincoln's time shows us that though America may be 250 years old, the question of how best to steward this grand experiment has always been with us. And age-old questions require age-old wisdom. In the West today, we see faith in our foundations and our shared inheritance weakening. And what we have to do is channel the wisdom of our predecessors to chart our own renewal. So what does renewal require? Just a few things. Well, first, it requires remembrance. This is a biblical admonition, in fact. We're to remember our blessings and from where we came. And the great British philosopher G.K. Chesterton warned, every high civilization decays by forgetting obvious things. Things like the dignity of the individual, the stabilizing role of the family, the human yearning for meaning and purpose, and the indispensable relationship between freedom and virtue. In short, we have to remember our foundations, and we have to describe what they are, because the generation behind us seems not to understand this. As Chesterton observed, America was founded on a creed that was set forth, he said, with dogmatic and theological lucidity in the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That profound acknowledgement of obvious and undeniable truth shook the foundations of Western democracy, and with it, the course of human history. Our founders recognized that all of us are made in the image of God. And because of that, every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And our value is not related in any way to the color of our skin or what town or village we hail from, what our talents are, etc. Our value is inherent because it is given to us by our Creator. We built an entire nation upon that premise. And just as our citizens are endowed with God-given and unalienable rights, all nations and all people should adhere to the obvious laws of nature and of nature's God, as our documents say. In his farewell address, the father of our country, George Washington, gave all of his advice that echoes down through his countrymen, even today, and echoes down through the generations and reminding us how we would keep this republic, how we would keep this grand experiment in self-government. And he said famously, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. And John Adams was our second president, and he said famously, our Constitution is made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. The late Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher put it even more simply. Freedom, she said, will destroy itself if it has no purpose. Lady Thatcher, just like our founders, understood that free societies that lacked a shared moral and civic foundation inevitably turn elsewhere to compensate. And that reminds us of another important lesson from history. A healthy renewal requires the participation and stewardship of each successive generation. Here, too, the example of the American Revolution proves so instructive. Our founders didn't seek to build a new nation on pure abstraction or mere ideology, nor did they abandon the brilliance of the British tradition, even if they opposed the empire itself. Instead, they drew on the joint inheritance of the English-speaking world, an inheritance rooted in the wisdom of classical thinkers, asserted in the Magna Carta, embraced in common law in the writings of John Locke, and articulated in the Bill of Rights of 1689. These principles found, in the words of Sir Winston Churchill, their most famous expression in the American Declaration of Independence. For Americans, our independence is not a rebuke of our British roots, but rather a renewal of what is best, the best of what Britain had to offer the world. If renewal requires remembrance and stewardship, it also requires responsible citizens. Strong institutions are essential, of course, but when people are taught that their lives are determined by systems and structures, responsibility quickly disappears, and with it, their purpose and their meaning. In both of our nations, we have too many people today on the sidelines, particularly younger generations. We should want our citizens involved, gainfully employed, and contributing to their communities, of course. Stable and thriving societies need families that raise children. They need churches and communities that form character, and patriotic men and women dedicated to leaving their country better than they found it. The simple truth is that freedom cannot survive if we outsource our responsibility as citizens. This is a fact that remains true at a national level. We cannot fail in our responsibility to protect our people and their security. Amongst our allies, we see the UK and Europe stepping up as faithful partners here, and I want to declare that today. Whether it's NATO's nation's historic commitment to raise their investment in defense, which we applaud, or the AUKUS alliance deepening its cooperation in submarines and undersea defense, our partnership is proving that nations can prioritize their individual interests responsibly, and at the same time, make strides towards strengthening alliances and preserving the freedom and sovereignty of our nation states. And our current U.S. ambassador to the UK, Warren Stevens, who sits here up here with me today, said it recently very well. He said, America first does not mean and will never mean America alone. Finally, renewal takes courage. From the defeat of Napoleon to the heroic resistance to the Blitz, to the bravery of our soldiers in the liberation of Western Europe, the British people have given the world some of the greatest demonstrations of courage in human history. You are the heirs of Burke and Locke and Smith, the home of Shakespeare, the cradle of free speech. You are the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution and the nation that helped end the slave trade. And from these shores, you set sail to pioneer a new world, built on British custom, British fortitude, and British law. Together, we, all of us, are the legacy of those ancient ancestors who came before us. Their courage is part of who we are, and we do well to remember that. Today, it takes our courage, clarity, and conviction to defend truth, just as our ancestors did. And it means being able to say that some things are true and good and enduring, and others are not. And to call evil and madness what it is. It means repairing what we see in clear disrepair, from restoring, for example, secure borders that protect from the real and measurable harms of mass uncontrolled migration, to pushing back on policies that erode our citizens' most basic liberties, especially the fundamental freedoms of speech and conscience. History teaches us we can never go down the road of censoring and silencing unpopular opinions because liberty is kept alive in the free marketplace of ideas. History further teaches us that the best solution to the problem of free speech is always more speech. And those being unjustly persecuted for exercising those freedoms, such as Jimmy Lai, the British national being held in Hong Kong, must be defended. And the U.S. stands with the UK as you work to free him. As we chart our renewal, America has no intention of walking alone. In fact, to do so would be self-defeating. More than ever before, we need the British people to be great and proud and patriotic, and you are, to work in close concert with us as partners and friends, and to defend the security of the Western world. That means secure borders. It means, obviously, serious investments in our shared defense and maintaining strategic strongholds around the world. We will figure this out together. But again, the surest way that we protect a special relationship, long-term, is by renewing and recommitting to our foundational principles. As Churchill taught us, the strongest alliances are between kindred countries of kindred principles. What has always set us apart from the rest of the world, our commitment to liberty, our pursuit of excellence, our desire to put faith and family at the center of our lives, these are things that distinguish the free world from regimes that trample on the most basic principles of democracy and human dignity. While the West is not without its flaws, our greatest strength has always been our faith in human progress and our capacity for self-correction. Strong and lethal militaries matter, robust and thriving economies matter, but they mean little if we forget what we're fighting for. Churchill understood that the fate of the West would ultimately be decided not on the battlefield, but in the hearts and minds and souls of its people. And Ronald Reagan saw this a generation later. When he came to Parliament at the height of the Cold War, the first U.S. president ever to do so, his message was clear. He said the free world would prevail against the scourge of communism only if it recovered its confidence and resolve in itself. And today, I believe we stand at a similar moment. Together, our strength is real, and the fate of the free world rests on our will to defend and preserve it. Today, ultimately, our renewal depends on whether we, as leaders and citizens, equip the next generation, whether we arm them with the confidence to articulate the ideals of the West and the will to defend them, not to shrink into national reluctance, but to stand strong in national pride. Because our countries really do have an unparalleled heritage of achieving good and advancing mankind, both individually and in this trusted partnership. Thankfully, our special relationship has always proven much more powerful and enduring than the enemies we face. Together, we represent a common history and heritage and the greatest, most free, most prosperous, most successful, and benevolent civilization the world has ever known. And it will endure only as long as we reject, decline, and recommit to our foundations. I'll leave you with the thought of Ronald Reagan one more. He said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. And just like all things, great civilizations don't defy the laws of gravity. They rise and fall with the individual actions of each individual generation. So today, my friends, we have great reason for hope. Today, I see the UK with renewed sovereignty and self-determination. I see our European allies with an advantage over our adversaries in economic power, and most importantly, in spirit. I see younger generations rejecting the indulgence of self-interest and embracing pursuits of greater importance and higher purpose. And I see those who cherish the lessons of Churchill and Lincoln, who are ready to offer this age heroes of their own. With the right choices and the right leadership, we can chart our renewal, and we can seize the great moment together if we truly seek it and fight for it. Thank you again for this profound honor. God bless you all. God bless the United Kingdom, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Well, I was writing a lot of things down.
Good. I wasn't.
Well, I noticed a few things. I noticed, it sounded very like he was referring to a lot of our history and all of that, Mike, but he mentions Lincoln, and we know that Lincoln is connected with Q and the Calhoun line that leads all the way up to now and what's been going on to kind of free the United States, if you will, from under the hold that the cabal has had. And I thought his speech was very friendly, the manner in which he gave it, like it was very friendly, very working together and all of that. And I'm not sure if we're supposed to read between the lines, because obviously the headline said he said that, what was that headline exactly about being the city of London? Forgot how they phrased it.
Yeah, he said, breaking news, Speaker announced Mike Johnson
has
addressing
fallen.
British Parliament. Speaker Mike Johnson announces to Great Britain London has fallen and they no longer own America. That's a marker. This also means that the other two have fallen as well, Washington, D.C. and the Vatican, and therefore Switzerland too. Without the Vatican, there would be no Switzerland. We remember in 2018, DJT put the Crown Company into Chapter 13 or 11, as you said, and the company was delisted in the UK in the first Q 2021. I might be wrong on this, but not far away from real. That was posted by Maverick. So, I listen to stuff like that, and it is like reading legalese, isn't it? You need someone who understands legalese to explain exactly what he said to you. Oh, did you hear him say that?
But I find it interesting that the person who was giving this speech was the Speaker of the House, right? The head of our Congress, so to speak. But a little interesting fact, which I don't know if a lot of people are aware of. A number of years ago, my background's in writing. I wrote for a Bronx, New York online paper. And I was always looking for interesting, tidbits and everything. Well, one of the stories I did was about Winston Churchill's connection to the United States. And I don't know how many people know this, but Winston Churchill's mother, Jenny Jerome, was an American. And her father, the hell was his first name? I got to look it up. What a lot of people don't realize is that he was actually considered the king of Wall Street. So right there, you got to tell me this guy, he wasn't just some like ordinary guy, right? And he had 3 daughters. he raised them to be educated. The mother, I forgot Jerome's mother's name. And if you've ever been to New York or Bronx, there's Jerome Parkway. He was involved in the Belmont racetrack, and those guys at that time, like Belmont, Jerome, they kind of ran New York, you know, and they were very wealthy. They had a lot of money. And so his daughters were educated and spent a lot of time in Europe, particularly England. And so Jenny actually married into, you know, she was the mother of Winston Churchill. She married a Brit. And for some reason, I lost the screen over here. But let's see, Jenny's father, Leonard Jerome, was a wealthy financier who was known at the time as the King of Wall Street. He made flamboyant investments and was a close friend and business associate of at least one Vanderbilt, both of which ensured that his daughters would marry well. Jeanette married Lord Randolph Churchill in April of 1874, and Winston was their eldest son, born in November of 1874, and a younger brother, John Strange Spencer Churchill, followed 6 years later. The family resided in England after the couple's marriage, and most people don't realize that Jenny was born as an American at all. So I find it interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people have revered Winston Churchill, and he was a very he had a presence, right? He had a definite presence and everything, but now we're finding out a lot of things about him. And then I think it's really interesting how he was really part of the cabal when you look at, you know, the roots.
There's a reason Trump took that picture sitting in his chair.
And there's a reason that Mike was just talking about when he brought up Winston Churchill the first time, because he brought him up a couple of times, how this younger generation is not kind of revering a lot of the people in our past. Like, look at Winston Churchill, all these things are coming out. I forgot exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but he did make a comment like that. So was that an underhanded way of telling us that this was not really a good guy? And there's a lot of, you know.
Oh, look, I mean, at present, I like Mike Johnson. I think he's done a lot of good. I mean, you hear of this, oh, he's cabal, and no, he's not. He's a white hat, and it's so confusing at times. But what he's doing, and Trump's always putting him now, and he's very eloquent and a great speaker, isn't he? You know,
he's like an ordinary guy, right? He just comes across as this very ordinary guy that you would just go and kind of have a beer with and hang out, right? There's no pretense to the way he comes across.
Well, he's also introduced Trump as well, hasn't he? Did he introduce him as 45th, 46th, 47th president? No, he said something else. Like, he introduced himself as the 30th Speaker of the House or something, when it should have been 55th. You know, it was almost going back to the Republic, i.e. Trump is the 19th president of the Republic, not the 45th president of the United States Corporation.
Right.
So, yeah, interesting. I didn't really get a massive amount from that speech, if I'm honest with you. But if other people go into it and dig into it later.
Yeah, I do think it was interesting who he named. You know, he named, he did make he made the references to Lincoln, but remember also Lincoln, right? Wasn't he pretty much one of our significant presidents who tried to get rid of, you know, where he tried to introduce his own money, right? The greenbacks. So there's references to, you know, slavery, the ending of slavery, you know, the money system, like I think all in this, the couple of things that he was saying.
Yeah.
So just looking at some of the comments here.
He does look like the Clark Kent type.
He does.
Yeah.
The guy in Kingsman. Yeah. Are you talking about not the young guy, Taron Egerton, the older guy who was like his trainer? What the hell's that guy's name? You know that actor that was in King?
Yeah.
Colin Firth.
Yeah.
Is that who? I don't know if that's who she's referring to, but he does kind of have that look. So there's a lot of comments in here about Churchill. He was in cahoots with Stalin and Lenin. Freemason and Rothschild. Yeah. So anyway, I find it interesting because I don't think a lot of people realize he had his maternal family was, you know, so rooted in New York aristocracy and probably cabal. Interesting. We've seen a lot going on with the with Minneapolis still, right? And ICE.
Yeah, well, I think the most interesting. I think the military is getting ready to go in there, but the most interesting thing coming up is I really do want to see what Trump says to this Davos mob. And you don't know that most of them have capitulated anyway. I mean, it's a show, isn't it? Really, you don't.
Yeah.
Leave Von Klaas and all these people.
So he's scheduled to speak tomorrow, Stu.
Yeah, Wednesday.
It says 2:30. Let's see. 8:30 a.m. Eastern.
I was listening to someone, and I can't think who it was, sort of going into detail a bit, but why is Trump putting all these people on the board of peace for Gaza? You know, proper serpents like Tony Blair and get them in the public spotlight again. Or make them believe they still have some control.
You think so?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know. People talk about, no, from what I gather in all my research, Churchill was absolutely not illegitimate. But yes, the Rothschilds did have many illegitimate children, right? Which included Adolf Hitler, right? He was an illegitimate. And there's probably many more. Yeah, so we'll see. So tomorrow, let's see, 8:30 to 9:15. So hopefully maybe we could chat a little bit about that tomorrow briefly with Matt.
What do you mean? That's when Trump speech is on?
Yeah, it's 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Eastern to 9:15. So
what,
it'll be before we get on.
What, at night?
No, I thought it said a.m. A.m. So that would be what? 1:30 UK time.
Perfect then.
Yes, we could watch that and then we could chat a little bit about it.
Yeah, with Matt Geiger.
Everyone here and Matt.
Yeah, because we've got Matt Geiger on tomorrow at 4, and we got JF on the Sapierplex on Thursday.
Yes.
You might even hear that.
Did we announce that? Did we announce that? We're so excited about that. That was.
Yeah, I've put out the coming up this week.
Yeah.
On PATP. So.
Hey, maybe we should just ask everyone. Do you guys have any thoughts on what we should talk about with those guys?
I've got so much to talk about with them. I'm going to try and fit about fucking 20 hours in a 2-hour show.
All right, never mind.
Well, do you know what I mean? They did that 7-part with Katie. That's about 8-9 hours.
Oh yeah.
She's got loads of questions for that. But I mean, they will discuss things like what you said there. Hitler was one of a Rothschild's, you know, illegitimate children.
Right. Was it his mother that worked for them in one of the?
But have we got documentation for that?
I don't know. I mean, we could do a little research on that, but they
because I mean, there's a lot of things people say in this movement that they cannot prove.
Right. Well, I saw a whole documentary on that one.
Yeah.
And the changing of the name to Hitler.
Yeah, but I'm using that as an example. But there's many other things that people sort of just say something because they've heard someone else say it, or it was written in the book. Do you know what I mean? Which doesn't make these things true. I mean, Jonathan on the Sapierplex will probably go into a lot of that. The fact that can we prove a lot of the things? This is what's so good having Jason on and stuff, because, you know, it goes in the documents. But then you've even got to look at things like that. Have documents been inserted into, this movement? Have they been put there? We're talking about the book of the Adventures of Baron.
Right.
What's the rest of that book? The Adventures of Baron.
Baron, isn't it Baron Trump? Isn't that?
Oh yeah, it might be. But there was talk. Everyone's found this old book.
Right. Is it really old?
But yeah, or was it inserted there?
You know what it reminds me of? It's so Wag the Dog for anybody who's seen that movie. Like when, particularly when they did that song, The Old Shoe, and they made it sound like it was from like 1930, but it wasn't. They just did it in the studio and they gave it like an old sound. So who the hell knows? Listen, we do the best we can. Some of it is about going with your gut and connecting dots and,
Ingersoll Lockwood, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
The Adventures of Baron Trump, Ingersoll Lockwood. Thank you. You're smarter. You're smarter than me there for that moment.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's an amazing website, isn't there? The Adventures of that, with so many hidden bits and stuff in it. Have you've seen that? And
maybe that's just meant for us to see those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, listen, to me, the only explanation is time travel. If it's really old. But, even one of the latest, I don't remember which show it was that I was watching with JF Anon and Sapioplex, but they were saying like even the whole UFO thing. Now, it doesn't mean there aren't extraterrestrials or other races that maybe are on the other parts of the earth that we don't know about. But the point is, they were saying that a lot of these UFOs are American, could very potentially be American aircrafts, especially when you look at the map of how most of them are over the US. I mean, there are some throughout the world, but so.
Yeah, this is this Ingersoll Lockwood website. If no one's been on it, ingersolllockwood.com. And there's loads of stuff on here. I mean, it's like that little white rabbit there. You click on this.
Wow.
It just takes you to so many different places. So if anyone wants to have a little dig about, I've watched people go through this before, that it's like, little bits and pieces in there. So it's just really interesting if anyone wants to go in that.
Now, isn't that all related like to Cape Canaveral? What the hell am I thinking of down there that they're going to be building even more down there in that area? This is where I need Chuck and Mel. A lot of things happening in that area.
Wink and woo. I will definitely be discussing the Zoids. Bird language, the Persian Belt theory, I Pet Goat 2, amongst all your base, I belong to us, amongst other things. Yellow submarine, if you know, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so wait, let me just read you this for 1 second. Cape Canaveral is buzzing with upcoming space activity, primarily SpaceX, Falcon 9, and Starlink launches, plus major developments for SpaceX Starship at SLC-37 and preparations for ULA's Vulcan rocket. So, yeah, and the reason I said that was because what you were just looking at on that video, I think there's a lot of connections there that are probably worth a deep dive at some point.
Yeah. Now, it was really interesting for me how many times Mike Johnson said across the pond.
Yeah.
I did like that because as soon as you and I came up with the name for our show, it seems lots of people keep saying that, which is interesting.
Well, I think it's very timely that we came together, you and I. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because there are so many connections between this whole plan, England, America, right, going all the way back to just the founding of the country, to the debt that we owed, right, after the, where did we really ever win our independence? Probably not, according to a lot of the facts that we look at. So I think with the fact that going back a few years to Trump sitting in the chair, walking in front of the Queen, like all those comms, the connection between our two countries really is great on many levels.
Definitely. And it was such a massive thing. Trump walking in front of the Queen, and obviously King Charles as well.
Yeah.
When he visited, and the capitulation tour. But I was just thinking, I just started laughing then about the meme with the Queen walking next to Trump carrying his golf clubs, right, hanging over her shoulder. But that just made me think, I had a meme a long time ago, and I didn't save it. Well, it's probably somewhere, but I didn't save it. I think it got taken down when one of my Facebook accounts got taken down, and I lost it. And I've tried to find it since, and I cannot find it anywhere. So if anyone's got this in their 17 million memes we've all got stuck on our phones and everywhere else, please send it to me. It's a picture of the Queen, I think, sitting there, and it's something like, oh, what a long day. I cannot wait to get home, take off this human suit, and eat some cricket sitting under my heat lamp.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, brilliant. If anyone's got that, you will make my day. I can't find it anywhere. But yeah, so Matt Geiger tomorrow.
Yeah, and we're going to get the
Thursday.
Yeah.
4 o'clock, Matt Geiger. 3:30 for that. Jason Q on Friday, 5:30. Nothing this weekend. We'll have our family chat again the following weekend. If, of course, you guys start coming on, showing your faces, or you don't have to, and we start getting a bit busier, we might do it every Saturday if we're free, of course. But we need a bit of participation for that, and we love to see you on.
Yeah.
We've had 4 different people on now, and it's really good. We want 6, 7, 8 of you on, and then you've only got to have 5-10 minutes each, just a little intro and how it's been for you. And then we just all natter on. I think it's enjoyable. But yeah, we haven't, like I say, we haven't got anything prepared. We'll let you know what happened with Rob. And
yeah, anyway,
we'll have an early one today, shall we, Lisa? And
yeah. Oh, and just we do have a new Substack. I don't know if we had mentioned it.
We'll put that in the banners.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. We are desperately trying to get TikTok going. We had to just get a few things in order before that, because we're trying to, we're really trying to take all the social media and do it in a way that makes the most sense. So TikTok is next.
Yeah.
What else am I doing? Oh, and our website is coming. Yeah.
We've got Instagram as well, but I'll just load everything up there, the preview for the week and all the shows you can go back and watch. If anyone wants to, YouTube we've got, but we don't really pay too much attention to that because we've been shut down so many times, but there's always an option to watch there. We got a Facebook group, which I'm going live to as well. Has anyone posted a question? No. And obviously we've got our Twitter. I don't take care of that one. Rumble, where you'll watch. That's our best channel that we're trying to get out. If anyone wants to contact us, we have got an email now, which will be part of the website, but the website is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll probably be done by the end of the week. Zoom on Saturday, Stu. Yes, I may pop in there for a bit. Although, Zoom on Saturday. Yes, I might do that, actually. I might even try and stay up for Jason's Friday night fuckery this week. I don't know if Elisa's about, are you?
On Friday,
I'll stay.
Yeah. These hours that George is working are just retarded. And then he gets home and we're not eating. I don't like to eat late. So it's like 8 o'clock. We're not done till 9. Clean up. It's 9:30. And we probably get like a half hour before he's ready to pass out. So I always try to play it by ear. But if he what time does he go till? That's kind of late. I was going to say, if he passes out, I'll jump on.
Yeah, no, it's 11 o'clock start for me. So it's 6 o'clock for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll see. I'll try. Maybe I'll try to get on for 6, before he gets home, which I did last.
Yeah, if you and I can go on for an hour, and then I can go on.
I think we can do that.
11 o'clock till midnight and stuff. I mean, Jason did a 13.5-hour show the other day.
I can't believe it. God bless him. Wow.
Yeah. So fair play. But yeah, that's it then. Thank you everyone for coming.
Yes,
Sorry Rob didn't turn up, but obviously if you're all waiting in the chat and no one turns up, we're always going to come on and have a chat with you guys, because that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, have a great rest of the day and evening, everyone.
And we'll see you tomorrow for Matt Geiger, if you're about. Lots of love. Where we go one, we go all.
This is the difference between the power of our Creator and anything else, particularly evil. That you can go into a pitch black room full of evil, full of darkness, and light a little candle, and instantly that darkness flees. But you can't do the opposite. You can't go into a well-lit room full of truth and wisdom and righteousness and joy and health and harmony with the universal power. And you can't take any amount of darkness and go into that well-lit room and have any effect whatsoever. That is the metaphor which I frequently think of when I think that I'm not empowered. It is the greatest lesson for me, and I think for everybody else, to know that we're on the winning side and that we win in the end.